Hey, what's up, y'all? What is good? We'll wait for a few minutes for people to join up. All right. Let's get this all together. All right. All right, what's good, everyone? So I was sitting here watching the weigh-in. I was gonna wait into the weigh-in between Canelo Alvarez and Triple G to finish before I jump on live. But I figure I'll jump on now since we're watching it. Might as well watch it together and talk about the fight. Give you my final thoughts on the fight tomorrow night, which I will be doing live commentary for. And then we can go into all this other stuff that's been coming out this whole week with Spence and Crawford, Wilder, Usyk, Joshua and Fury. All right. But yeah, this fight card is tomorrow. Has a lot of good fighters on the card. Not like amazing top tier matchups, but a lot of good fighters are on this card here. All right. They're showing Ali Akhmadov facing off Gabe Rosado, which is a pretty good fight. Akhmadov, I actually haven't seen him fight since he lost Carlos Gongora. All right. He was a prospect at the time, undefeated, and he ended up getting stopped late against Gongora. I remember watching that fight live. It was a really, really, really good fight, and it was a huge upset. Oh, maybe it wasn't a huge upset. I don't remember. I don't know what the odds were, but I know at the time a lot of people were feeling Akhmadov. All right. Shout out to everyone that's coming in. What's up, Josh? What's up, the Racing Angel, La Vida Boxio, Geo, CMP. All right. So yeah, let's talk about it real quick. Who else do we have on this card? We got Bam Rodriguez fighting Israel Gonzalez. All right, like I said, we have Akhmadov against Gabe Rosado. We got Austin Ammo Williams, who's going to be on the card too. He just finished weighing in. Diego Pacheco, the prospect, huge prospect at super middle. Kid is like 6'4". All right, so he's going to be on the card. So you got a lot of good talent on this undercard. Not like crazy big fights, but a lot of good talent. We should be able to see some good knockouts. I'm expecting some good knockouts tomorrow. But I'm definitely looking forward to this Akhmadov fight against Gabe Rosado. All right. Fotex, thank you for the donation. He says we finally getting Spence versus Crawford. Yeah, I definitely want to talk about that in this video. I think we're pretty close. I think what we're getting or what was announced yesterday by Mike Coppinger from ESPN is that they both agreed to the terms, but they still haven't signed the contract. So that's what I wanted to talk today about. Well, we'll go a little bit more after this weigh-in is over. I wanted to just discuss Triple G and Canelo first before we get into that. But I definitely want to talk about that, and I am excited. But still, at the end of the day, we've been getting news that the fight was close. The fight is close. The fight is close for the last like 3 to 4 months. So I kind of want to just discuss that. I mean, I think the fight is going to happen. With me, I don't make much content on build up for fights. I did one video on Spence and Crawford or maybe about 4 or 5 months ago where I did a completely full 40-minute breakdown of the two fighters just to lead up, just to discuss the fight. I didn't make a bunch of videos just talking about how close we are, talking about sources and all of that stuff. Like I really don't do that kind of content like that. Even when I heard about this yesterday, I thought about rushing and making a video because I was excited. But if you really read the article, it's basically saying that they agreed to the terms for November I believe it's November 19th date. All right. So they agreed to the terms, but they still haven't signed the contract. They said something about the both sides of their lawyers got to just clean up and tighten up a few last things before they actually sign the contract, but they haven't signed the contract yet. So I believe it will happen, but you just never know, especially when it comes to this fight here and when it comes to boxing in general. So I'm going to speak on that. Pretty much the same with Fury and Joshua. It seems like Joshua agreed to Fury's terms, but they still haven't signed anything yet. All right. So I'm going to speak on that a little later as well. All right. But yeah, this fight, if you haven't already, make sure you watch my breakdown. I did do a breakdown of the fight between Canelo Alvarez and Triple G earlier in the week. So that's already out there. I did read the comments. I did read all of the comments you guys left me. And for the most part, they were great comments. There are a lot of people that still believe that Triple G will win this third fight. But there's a lot of people. I think the majority of people have Canelo winning this one. I think the biggest debate between most fans is how it's gonna be won. Like, is there gonna be a stoppage? I predicted Canelo to win by decision. I don't believe there's gonna be a stoppage in this fight. A lot of that in this breakdown, a lot of it was based on the first two fights and also what the two fighters have done since the first two fights. Canelo has been a lot more successful than Triple G, even though Triple G is still one of his fights. I think Canelo has looked more impressive in his most recent wins, even though he lost to Bivol. I think the challenges he took were better challenges, and I think they also made him a better fighter. And plus, he's been fighting at 168 and 175 since beating Triple G. Triple G has never fought at 168 before. You know what I'm saying? So, I have Canelo winning. I don't think I'm sleeping on Triple G. I never slept on Triple G. Ralph never slept on Triple G before. But I do believe that if he couldn't get it done in the first two fights, I don't expect a 40-year-old version of him to do it. That's my logic. It's not about sleeping on him. It's more about like, okay, this is what he's done since the first two fights. This is this version of Triple G versus the one that fought him 4 years ago, 4 and 5 years ago. At 40 years old, I don't expect him to do better. Unless Jonathan Banks has changed him dramatically. And even in the fights that I've seen him in, I don't feel like it's been a dramatic change. I mean, some defensive, I think it's really about strategy. And I think if Triple G is gonna win, I think it's not gonna be of him being just more more aggressive. I think he's gonna have to change the way he fights in his third fight a little bit and be more strategic because he is older and the first two times couldn't cut it. Even if you think he won one of the or two of those fights, he didn't get that win by the judges. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, there's nobody sleeping on Triple G. It's just like, yo, he's 40 and he couldn't get it done when he was 35 and 36 years old. That's my logic, you know? But one thing I did want to speak on is what's going to happen, like, depending on the outcome of the fight, what's going to happen with the two. If Triple G actually does win, will he retire? Will he stick around? You know what I'm saying? Is he going to continue fighting? I think there's a good chance that if Triple G does win, I think there's a good chance he may retire. That's a great way to go out. Winning the fight, becoming undisputed, beating Canelo, you avenge the losses that you had. I think that would be a great way to retire, at 40 years old. But then again, money talks. And if he does beat Canelo, I think there's a chance there may be a fourth fight, or, I don't know if in this contract here, I don't know if there's a rematch clause in place. But I know if Triple G is to win, it will be a great way for him to retire. But then I know that there'll be offers all over the place, you know, maybe for Benavidez and everybody's gonna want to fight Triple G. I mean, people want to fight him now, but everybody's gonna want to fight Triple G at that point. Like, you know what I'm saying? But there's probably some kind of rematch clause in place if Canelo is to lose this fight. Yeah, and that's just an assumption. I don't actually know. All right. But if Canelo is to win the fight, you know, I'm not really sure how it goes, you know, will go, because it really depends on how Canelo wins, you know, depending on what Triple G does. You know, if Triple G is stopped in this fight, I can see Triple G retiring, you know. But if Canelo wins like another close decision, you know, I don't know. I don't know what Triple G should do. You know what I'm gonna tell you what I would want. All right. This is what I would want. If Triple G wins this fight, it's gonna hurt Canelo. You know, if he wins, whether decision, knockout, whatever, it's definitely gonna hurt Canelo because he'll be coming off 2 losses. You know, 1 loss, like you going up to 175, that's one thing. But you losing again to Triple G, someone that you beat in your last fight, or in the last fight between you two, taking an L, 2 losses in a row would be, it wouldn't be a good look for Canelo. You know, even though they're 2 tough opponents, they're 2 really good fighters in Bivol and Triple G. It's just not gonna look. It's not gonna be a good look for Canelo to have 2 losses in a row, right, back to back, against 2 different fighters at that. So I don't know. I think if Canelo were to lose, he probably would take another fight with Triple G, but I think at that point he needs to regroup a little bit. Like, something's gonna need to change if he loses again. So I don't know, but what I would like Triple G to do if he loses this fight, I think if he loses this fight and he wants to continue fighting, I still think that he should try to. I think he should still try to go undisputed at 160. Like, I think that's still a great way to finish. If he is going to continue fighting, go back down to 160 and go and try to collect them last belts. And I believe Jamal Janibek would be a fighter. Jamal and yeah, those are the other 2. I mean, if he can try to get those fights done, I think that's still a major accomplishment to have. That's something that I believe that him and Canelo, either one or the other, should have had that before even going up to 168. You know? So if they can work things out there, then, you know, that'll be great. But I don't know. I really don't see that working out. You know, 160, as far as matchups lately, has been one of the weakest divisions, in my opinion. You know, outside of Triple G and Canelo, the majority of those guys there didn't really actually fight each other like the best fighters. You know, look at Eubank, look at Munguia, you know, look at Jamal Charlo, Demetrius Andrade. Most of these guys didn't fight each other, man. This division has been kind of crappy. You got a lot of talent at the division, but most of them don't fight each other. You know, they usually just stick with top contenders and try to beat common opponents better than the other opposition. You know, Gio said, yeah, there's a rematch. It's in the contract according to it. Yeah, I mean, I think at this point, just about anybody Canelo faces or any top tier fighter, they're gonna have a rematch clause in place, you know, especially if they're a cash cow level type of fighter, you know. So any top tier, that includes Triple G, that includes Canelo, Joshua, Fury, Wilder, you know, anyone with a big name at this point, you know, or anyone that's like undisputed or something like that, they're gonna get it. They're gonna, you know, tank. They're gonna have a rematch clause in place, you know. Ace, I'm still going with Crawford over Spence. I'm still going with Crawford over Spence. If they are going to fight, it sounds like we're getting closer, but to be honest, Mike Coppinger has basically just reported exactly what everybody's been saying for months is going to happen. You know what I'm saying? So I just hope it really happens. That's all I can really say about that. Triple G is getting ready to step on the scales. He's getting ready to come out. It's a lot of people out there that weigh-in, man. I was watching a little clip on Instagram of the people rushing to the weigh-in. There's a lot of people out there. I mean, they're outside. They have it all fenced up, gated up. There's a lot of people out that weigh-in. Wow. It's a really huge crowd out there for real. Like, it looks like a concert out there, to be honest. There's a lot of people out there. Surprised to see so many people out there. All right. What's up, Maker? Good looks. Appreciate it. Attic, I don't know I haven't checked for any updates when it comes to that lawsuit between Crawford and Arum. I haven't really been paying attention to it, to be honest. Lincoln says Triple G will crumble the ginger biscuit tomorrow. We'll see. I got Canelo winning. I'm trying to think of what other questions people had about this fight tomorrow. I honestly believe that Canelo is definitely going for a stoppage, and I believe that Triple G is going to be more strategic. I'm really counting on Triple G just not trying to go blow for blow. I think Triple G is going to be more strategic. I think we might see him move a little bit more. I just think that it's nice. I think he's going to be the complete opposite of what he was in the first fight. That's what I'm expecting Triple G to do in this fight. All right. I think him being with Jonathan Banks, definitely going to just keep using that jab. But I think that we're not going to just get him rumbling and just trying to go below the blow for with Canelo. I don't think we're getting that, or completely outworking Canelo. I think we're going to see the smartest Triple G at this point, and he's going to really try to outbox Canelo. Right? I think he's going to take some of the things we saw in the Bivol fight. The few things, obviously I don't believe that Golovkin is nearly as defensive as a Bivol, but I think he's going to take a similar approach in this fight. All right. So Triple G is on the stage. All right. And we're waiting. Now we're waiting for Canelo to show up. Remember, this is an undisputed fight at 168. Carlos says he believes that Spence will beat Bud because his jab will be too much for Bud. You know what? And that's cool. That's cool, man. Again, I don't see. The thing is, I'm very confident in Crawford winning the fight, but I am like I've said for the last few years, I think Spence is the only person that could beat Terrence Crawford right now. I think that Crawford is the only one that could beat Spence right now. That's just the way I see it. If anybody's going to beat Bud, it's going to be Spence. If anybody's going to beat Spence, it's going to be Bud. I think out of the younger people that's on the come up, I think Boots has the best chance. I think he's probably the closest to beating those two. I just don't haven't I don't have I don't think he has the experience to prove that, but I just think off his ability, I think if he can't beat them now, he's pretty damn close to being there. He's bigger than the both of them, and he's a freakish athlete, you know. But that's my stance on it too. Like I've been saying that Spence is the best welterweight as far as his resume as a welterweight is the best. I think overall Bud has accomplished a lot more, but Spence done more as a welterweight, being that he's a career welterweight. Bud has fought from 135 up to 140, so he's worked his way up to welterweight. All right. So I like Crawford. I think whatever Spence does, I think Spence's best weapon will be his jab. I still believe that Crawford is going to find a way to take that jab away. He's going to have to, you know. And Crawford is just he's not like a sitting target like everybody else. I think that's the major thing of why people that think Crawford is going to win. He's just not an easy target like the rest of those guys that Spence has fought, you know. Crawford got amazing timing. He's an amazing counterpuncher. His technical ability is just far above everybody else that Spence has fought. But you can say the same thing about Bud. I mean, Spence is the best fighter that Bud has fought as well. You know, we could go back and forth for a day about this. You just got to pick one. You got to pick one. I believe somebody asked me earlier if there's going to be a rematch clause. It really depends on how the fight is won. If it's a highly competitive fight, all right, where it's even and then someone gets stopped, then I expect a rematch. If it's a dominant performance from either side and it goes to a decision, we still may get a rematch. You know, we still may get a rematch. But if it's like someone gets dominated, I'm not expecting a rematch, you know. Yeah. Ace is saying he thinks Boots can beat those guys right now, and he might be able to, man. All right, Triple G at the weigh-in. Triple G looks massive. 167. Triple G looks like a bodybuilder. You could see the extra 8 pounds. You know, you can definitely see it, but he looks in great shape. Triple G has always been a guy that stays fit and even in between fights. So Triple G is a solid 167. All right. I was expecting like maybe 166, you know, just a little bit less. So Canelo's up there on the scales. 167.4 for Canelo. And they both look great. No complaints. They both look great. I mean, expected. I think Canelo belongs at 168. You know, I don't think he belongs at 175. You know, especially after watching that fight with Bivol. I don't think he's cut for the division, you know, and I know I thought he would win a close decision with Bivol, but I also said that it was his most dangerous fight, you know. I'm not betting on this fight tomorrow. You know, Canelo is a decent favorite. You know, I like when the odds are just a little bit closer, or you know, like I don't gamble much anyway, but I like picking. I like to gamble when the underdog you know, has a good chance. I feel as the underdog can really like pull it off. You know, that's when I like to really go for it. But they look great. They both look great, man. Triple G's 40, but he looks great. I just want to see how he's going to deal with the volume and having the extra weight. You know, they're doing their face off. You know, they try to play like it's some bad blood. I don't think there's real bad blood between the two. You know, I think they say comments. They both have made comments to each other, but I don't think there's any real bad blood between these two. I'm not expecting there to be any kind of shoving match or whatever. They both make comments here and there. You know, Triple G thinks he's won the fights. Canelo believes he won the fights. It is what it is, man. I don't think there's any real, there's a lot of respect between the two fighters, and that's it. You know, they both made a lot of money together. All right. That's that. Oh, what's up? Boxing Gyms was good, man. Thank you for the donation, man. Says I hit the like button before I commented. Be like me. What up, Wave? Thank you, brother. Appreciate you. Shout out to Boxing Gyms. And again, make sure you subscribe to my guy, man. The best film fight study, the best fight film study YouTube channel out there, in my opinion. You know, there's many great ones, but that's my guy right there. That's my favorite guy right there. You know, that's where I go to learn. You know, what's good, Woog? Says my cousin suspects something strange about Triple G's change in masculine post fight Canelo fights. I mean, I'm not gonna speak on that. I'm not gonna speak on that. What's good? Woog says, can Triple G at this stage push the pace with the jab and get Canelo to throw more punches than he wants to? Canelo's been pretty efficient and economical in this output in recent fights. Yeah. You know, and you know, I think again, you know, I think Triple G's talking spicy. He told the crowd, like, yo, boxing, you know, boxing fans out there, y'all know who's a real champion. Okay. Yeah, no, I think the extra weight, I just want to see if Triple G is able to still put that output out at that current weight. Can he still do it? It's not just the weight, it's the age, you know? Now, I said this in I think maybe in my breakdown or a video, one of my most recent videos about this too. Triple G still looks good. If he had fought Murata 5 years ago, it wouldn't have been as competitive as it was. The Murata fight, and Murata's a good fighter. Murata would have got destroyed by Triple G if this was 5+ years ago. You know, those few rounds that Triple G was struggling in, that wouldn't have been the case if Triple G was younger. And I'm only saying that to say that age is a factor. It is a factor. You know, some of these fights that Triple G is struggling now in, like, he wouldn't have struggled so much. You know, he's still incredible at 40. I still think he's definitely the best middleweight at 40. You know, I still think he's better than the other guys at 160. But at his absolute prime, I think he would destroy everybody. This is just my opinion. I think Triple G would have destroyed Janibek. I think he would have destroyed him. You know, I mean, it would have been great. It would have been a competitive fight. I think all of the fights would have been competitive. You know, if this was 5+ years ago, I think the Andre fight, I've been wanting that fight for years. I've been wanting the Charlo fight for years. You know, But I think Triple G would have beat some of those guys. You know? But, you know, it is what it is. You know, we can speculate. We could talk whatever. You know, I mean, they're all picks at the end of the day. We didn't get the fight. If we didn't get the fight, then there's no way that we will any of us really know. I mean, Danny Jacobs did a hell of a lot better than what I thought he was going to do against Triple G. You know, Danny Jacobs, in my opinion, won the fight. I think he won more rounds than Triple G. You know, I know Triple G scored a knockdown, but Jacobs coming in there so much bigger was able to mix, you know, really go blow for blow with Triple G. I think if Jacobs rehydrated and or match that rehydration weight that day of, he would have been much weaker that day, and that fight wouldn't have been as competitive. Jacobs came in much bigger that night, and that's the reason why that fight was as competitive as it was. You know, so maybe Andrade or maybe a Charlo would have done better. I don't know. But when I watched that Murata fight, the Murata fight looked like a 40-year-old version of Triple G. Still very good, but he's clearly declining. Clearly. Who do I got in a fantasy matchup between Triple G and James Toney? I have James Toney winning the fight, but you know, when I do these fantasy matchup things, it's not like I don't think Triple G is capable of not capable of beating him. You know, I think if you tell me, you know, if in a 10 fight scenario, right, I would have James Toney winning maybe 6 or 7 of those fights and Triple G winning maybe 3 or 4. You know what I'm saying? It's not like I think it's James can lose, you know? You know, I've said this a lot about like these fantasy matchups at middleweight when it comes to Hagler and Hopkins and Roy and all of these great heavy middleweights, McCallum, you know, whatever fighter you want to bring up, I would pick James Toney. But if this was a scenario where there were multiple fights, I'm rarely gonna say 10 out of the 10 times this fighter would lose. You know, Hopkins, as great as he was, he's lost to some fighters that historically is not gonna go down in history to be great. And you know, losing to Chad Dawson, losing to Jermaine Taylor. Jermaine Taylor is not gonna go in the history books down to where Hopkins was, but Jermaine Taylor did beat Hopkins twice. So, you know, and then Taylor lost to Carl Froch. You know, so again, at the end of the day, winning and losing certain fights, I think some of these fighters are going to win and lose to certain fighters, but beat other fighters that are just as great, if not greater, you know? But Triple G is one of those guys that I would have loved to see in fantasy matches against other great fighters and other different generations. You know, I think what he's done is just enough to put him in that conversation. I don't think he's the greatest, but I think he's done enough to at least mention him in those other fights, you know. Oh, what's good, Woog? I actually sat next to Rosie Perez years ago at a fight in the Barclays. I can't remember which fight that was though, but me and her was sitting right next to each other. I had great floor seats. I should have asked for a picture, but she was with. I said this. Whatever fight it was, I remember. You know, I did a post fight review when I got home, and she was there with a guy, and I didn't want to be rude because I wanted to ask for a photo, but I didn't want to be disrespectful. You know, I wanted to ask for a photo as a fan, but whoever she was sitting with, I didn't want to. You know, plus he was sitting in between me and her. So I didn't want to be like, oh, can I get a photo? I wanted a photo with her because, like, as a child, like, I've been watching her, you know, since Do the Right Thing and stuff like that. But yeah, Rosie Perez. That's the one and only time I didn't meet her. I did shake her hand and say hello, but I didn't ask for a photo because I didn't want to be you know, like, you know, I didn't want to be that guy. Yeah, and I think the Derenchenko fight as well. The Derenchenko fight too. That's another fight. Those are the two questionable wins that I have Triple G having on his resume. I think Derenchenko and Danny Jacobs, two very, very questionable wins. You know, yeah. All right. So look, let's talk about these other fights, man. Let's get into the fights here. Let's talk about Crawford and Spence. And I know I've been talking about it, really, pretty much talking about it already. But Mike Coppinger from ESPN wrote a piece yesterday, basically announcing that both fighters have agreed to the terms. Now, he didn't go into much details as far as where the fight would take place, what the purse. I don't believe the purse splits have been officially been put out there. But they agreed to a November 19th clash, right? But they agreed to the terms. The contracts have not been signed yet. All right. What does that mean? Well, it means that the fight ain't official until the contracts are signed. So as much as like we're all excited to hear that news because we're hearing it from ESPN directly, as opposed to another boxing channel that's saying that they have sources and this and that. We actually got it official, and we're getting so close to that date. We're literally 2 months away. We're 8 weeks away. And we're just now hearing that they agreed to the terms. I haven't made much content about those two, but what I will say is that I believe the fight will happen, because if it doesn't happen now, I don't think the fight happens as undisputed fighters, because you got so many fighters that are mandatory positions. You know, you got all of these fighters at welterweight that are just waiting to get their shot, right? You know, the WBA, the WBC, and the IBF is with Spence. You got guys like Virgil Ortiz, Stanionis, Boots Ennis. You got all these guys that's right in position to fight for a title right now. And I think that if the longer that they push this off, like, you know, we were hearing things like as the weeks went by, we were hearing that Bud is probably going to fight Thurman, or Spence is going to fight Stanionis. There's a lot of people that's out there just putting information because that's just what people do. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, I hope it happens. I think it will happen. I think if it doesn't happen, it kind of messes everything up with the welterweight division. But I hope it happens, and I think it will happen. All right. There's a lot of times where the news will come out saying that the terms have been agreed upon with both camps. All right. And then following that, maybe a few days later, we'll hear the official announcement like Bud and Spence is on. So hopefully it's one of those scenarios. Hopefully, and I'm expecting within the next few days that these guys are going to have the contract signed and everything is going to be solid, and we'll get the fight on November 19th. I know everybody's going to be more concerned about what the purse splits are. And, you know, I personally don't care. You know, as long as these guys are fighting and they're happy with whatever they're getting paid with and whatever they agreed with, then fine. I know one thing in that report, they said that there's a rematch clause that we were all expecting. I don't expect this to be just one fight. You know, I don't think this is going to be one fight, but there's going to be a rematch clause for both sides. And whoever wins the first fight is going to get the majority of the purse in the second fight, which makes sense because the winner should, you know, in a rematch, going to rematch, whoever's getting The higher end, I don't know what they're doing. I don't know if it's 50-50. I don't know if it's going to be a little bit for Spence because he's bringing more belts and he is the welterweight and all that. I don't know if it's going to be that, but whatever they agreed on, the winner is going to get the bigger portion of the purse in the rematch. So I don't believe there's any official numbers yet. But again, at the end of the day, as a boxing fan, I'm happy. And that's that. And I also would like to know where they're gonna actually have the fight. Most likely it's gonna be in Vegas. I'm expecting Vegas to be the place, you know. I know they can do a big fight in Texas, you know, and stuff, but they're probably gonna want to have it in a neutral place, and Vegas will be that place. All right. So yeah, that's all I gotta really say. You know, I can't wait to do. I'm gonna do a breakdown right away. And I'm gonna do a lot of videos. I want to do. I don't want to do more content. I want to have. I have some. I already have some ideas of videos and content to do on this fight because this is my personal, most desired fight in boxing right now. So I'm definitely gonna be doing a lot of content on this fight. You know, um, so be on the lookout for that. All right. But it's gonna be PPC pay-per-view. I don't care if it's pay-per-view. But I would like to know where it's gonna be at. It's probably gonna be in Vegas. And I have to make the decision on whether or not I want to actually go to the fight or just do live commentary on here. That's the big thing because I love to go to fights and I want to support the fighters and go live. But I also want to do live commentary with you guys too. So if it's reasonable and if I could find somebody to roll with me for the fight, one of my friends or relative, whatever, then I'm probably gonna go. If not, then I might end up just doing commentary. We'll see. I have to figure that out. But that's the only thing I'm just trying to figure out when it comes to that. All right. Because I have no problem with traveling for fights. I've traveled for fights a lot. All right. So anyway, uh let's talk the heavyweight mess. All right. I haven't done any content. Well, I did speak on Joshua and Fury in the beginning when it first came out, and I gave you my thoughts. And if you weren't here and if you didn't see those videos, I basically told you, like, look, for Anthony Joshua and the rest of the heavyweight division, not Usyk. Anybody that has an opportunity to fight um, Tyson Fury in December for his WBC title should take the opportunity. I made a video and I broke that down. And I basically said, yes, Joshua, who wouldn't be the A side in this case, because he's not the champion. Okay. And Fury's his own star as well. He's a star as well. Joshua should take the challenge and agree to whatever terms there is. 60-40, December 3rd. I said that he should agree with the terms. Some of you disagreed with that. Some of you said Joshua needs some time. He needs to work things out. He needs to pick up a couple wins. He needs to get back on the winning circuit, two defeats and all that. I hear you. I feel you. I understand where y'all coming from. But I think this is an opportunity for AJ to get right back in the winner's circle. And I think that if there was any other fighter that had an opportunity to jump in, they should all do it. That's the way I see it, man. I mean, I understand that AJ is coming off of 2 losses. He's not coming off of 2 devastating losses where he was stopped and knocked out, and he looks like he doesn't have it no more. He got outboxed by the better boxer, the guy that we knew was a better boxer before going into both of those fights. He wasn't knocked out. He wasn't dropped. I think he is still fresh, all right? Didn't have enough time to rest, but he's not a battered fighter, in my opinion. And not only that, but I saw improvements with him in his rematch with Usyk. I thought it was a lot more competitive. He still lost the fight, but I believe that Joshua should jump on the opportunity. And the last thing we are hearing now is that Joshua has agreed to the terms. Again, No contracts have been signed. We got to figure it out if everything's all settled. Now, that's with AJ. I'm glad that he's taking it, or at least I'm glad that he agreed to the terms. I know he wanted a later date, a little bit more time would have been better to figure things out. But Tyson Fury is very calculated. I said this. Tyson Fury, when it comes to him, again, Fury does what he wants to do. All right. As great of a fighter as he is, you can't take his word because he contradicts himself every single day. I think he's a great marketer. I think it's great marketing for him because whoever he decides to fight at the end of the day, he's already found a way to bring everybody else's name into his next fight. So whether it was Joshua, whether it was Usyk, whether it was whoever, he found a way to involve everybody by going on social media daily, talking about everybody, calling out everybody, saying that he's going to retire, saying he's going to fight Derek Chisora. He switches it up every single day. Okay? You don't know what he's going to do. One day he's going to retire. He was talking about retirement before he fought Dillian White. You don't know what he's going to do. He is completely unpredictable. With that being said, I do a lot of it. I do believe some of it of him being bipolar, but I also believe that a lot of it is strategic. He wants to keep everybody thinking. He doesn't want people to know his next move. He doesn't like being told by the WBC that he has a mandatory. He doesn't like being told what to do. Tyson Fury likes to move how he wants to move. He fought Wilder the first time. We thought he was going to go into an immediate rematch. No, he did not. He fought two other guys. He signed with ESPN, a monster deal with ESPN. He fought Tom Schwartz. He fought Otto Wallin. The WBC tried to make him fight Dillian White. He said, no, I'm not fighting Dillian White. And guess what? He didn't have to fight Dillian White, but still was able to get 2 Wilder fights with the WBC for the WBC title fight, without having to fight Dillian White, even though the WBC ordered it. Tyson Fury do what he wants to do, and he still gets rewarded for it. So where are we at now? I still don't know if Joshua agreeing to the terms if the fight is going to happen, because Tyson Fury might pull it out anyway. But in regards to Alexander Usyk and us getting an undisputed fight, of course I want undisputed. I want undisputed more than anything. But Fury wanted a December match. He hasn't been in the ring since April, right? He fought Dillian White in April. Joshua and Usyk just happened. He wanted the Usyk fight in December. Usyk said, nah, I'm taking my time off. I'm going to be with my family. See you sometime next year. Fury says, no, I'm going to fight anyway. I'm fighting somebody in December. I'm not waiting for you. I'm going to fight in December. Even though the man that just said that he was going to retire, he's turned and said that he's going to fight as early as December now. That's what he wants to do. I'm not mad at Fury for wanting to have a fight in between his Usyk fight. I'm not mad at him for that. I think what people got to remember, and it's not like I'm defending Fury, but at least when it comes to him wanting a fight in December, I am. Because what is he going to wait until Usyk is ready to fight, which is probably going to be next spring? I said before, I don't believe the fight happens no earlier than March. March is the earliest. I'm thinking like March, in between March and June for their fight. So if Fury wants to have a fight in between, that's fine. He wanted a fight in between waiting for the Wilder arbitration situation. My thing is this, that people are forgetting. Joshua and Usyk was supposed to happen much earlier than it did. The attack on the Ukraine held up the fight, and it was rescheduled until late this summer. That fight was supposed to happen much earlier this year. So if Usyk and Joshua had happened when it was supposed to happen, and I'm not saying that they should have went on with it. It's totally understandable why they had to reschedule the fight based on that war. But you got to remember, if Joshua and Usyk went down as early as it was supposed to, and Fury and Dillian White happened when it happened, then we would have had a fight in December. I'm assuming we would have had the fight. If Usyk beat Joshua earlier this year instead of last month, these guys would have been ready to have their undisputed fight by the end of this year. So I can't get mad at Fury for wanting him to have another fight before the undisputed match next year. Now, I know he's only had one fight per year. So people are asking, well, why is he changing it up now? You know, and I get it. You know, Fury talks a lot of trash. So a lot of people are using his trash talk, you know, dissing Usyk, making it seem like it's an easy fight. Listen, you know, I know Fury. I understand Fury is requesting $500 million. He's saying Usyk is a middleweight. I totally understand all of that. But the reality is, I think Fury is well aware of how dangerous of an opponent that Usyk is. He doesn't want to set out for another year to fight. He's getting older, and he wants to fight in between. $500 million, when he said that, it wasn't realistic. That was Fury being Fury. Him retiring wasn't realistic. That was Fury being Fury. Okay? All of this talk, Fury does a lot of talking. I'm not defending it. But I do realize that what he says is it's a bunch of mind games. He says a lot of crazy shit all the time. All I care about is what gets signed. And if he signs to fight AJ in December, right? He called out AJ. AJ's agreeing with the terms. If AJ and Fury gets the fight on, can't get mad at that. If he's going to use AJ as his tune-up for Usyk, can't get mad at that. There's no more credible tune-up. And I also believe that, like I said with Fury, the reason why he'll take the AJ fight is because that's the fight he really wanted from jump. We know that Fury wanted the AJ fight. It's a bigger fight, right? We wanted AJ to win because it's a bigger fight. I mean, you can even have the debate whether or not it's an easier fight for him, right? And we knew that even if Fury were to beat Usyk, he's probably going to spin the block and fight AJ anyway because he wants that fight. He wants that fight. He wants to fight with AJ. So now that AJ is going to be his tune-up, if he were to fight Usyk first before AJ and lose to Usyk, it's going to lose some steam on the AJ fight, right? Because that fight will probably be for no titles at that point. And then he would be coming off of a loss if he were to fight Usyk and happens to lose to Usyk. So he wants to have it now. It makes sense. You know, so when it comes to ducking, I don't think, like I've said this before with many fights that people go on a rant and, about ducking allegations. The opportunity to actually duck Usyk hasn't happened yet. It hasn't happened yet. I think we're jumping the gun by saying Fury wants a fight in December is a form of ducking Usyk. I don't think he really wants to fight Usyk. I do agree with that. He does not want to fight Usyk. But saying that he's ducked Usyk, I don't agree with that. Not for not fighting him in December. He made the offer or you put it out there like, yo, I'll fight you in December. Usyk declined. Now Usyk is talking about going ringside for Wilder and Helenius, and now he's going to try to go for a Wilder fight. Well, this is the thing about Usyk, you know. I mean, that sounds cool. That would be like a great little tournament to have, like Fury against Joshua. You know, Fury fighting a guy that Usyk already beat, and Usyk going to fight the guy that Fury already beat. That's cool, but that's not realistic to me. You know, that's just not realistic. Wilder's gonna fight Andy Ruiz. All right, it's a PBC thing, and even though Usyk has 3 belts, they're gonna take care of their own first. That's the way the PBC moves. You know, unless there's some kind of fight there that is really, really worth it. I'm not saying that Usyk isn't really worth it. It is worth it. Especially for Wilder, because Wilder, I know he's the number 1 with the WBC. I think that's a great opportunity. It's a much better opportunity for Wilder because he would fight Usyk for his 3 titles, and if he beats Usyk, he will be unified. And whoever wins between Fury and Joshua, if that fight happens, then he'll be coming in a fight with 3 belts if he were to win that. My thing is, do you really want to take that chance? Because if you don't get the knockout, you're most likely going to lose on points. I don't think Wilder can beat Usyk on points. I just don't. So do you take that chance with an outsider, a guy that's a non-PBC fighter, when we already know that we've been working towards this Andy Ruiz-Joshua fight from jump? That's what they've been working on. Now that Andy beat Luis Ortiz, it kind of helps a pay-per-view between Wilder and Andy Ruiz. You got 2 American fighters. You can get that Mexican fan base in the mix too, you know, with Ruiz against Deontay Wilder, who's the biggest American star. You can get that going. That would be a solid pay-per-view. Now, there's no belts on the line, but if the WBC already has Wilder as the number 1 fighter, they might look at it like, well, do we really need these unification belts? As a boxing fan, I would want the Usyk fight, but the way their business works, it doesn't work like that. They go with their own. The PBC is going to roll with other PBC fighters. They want to keep things in-house. Usyk is an outsider, you know. Usyk can float around, but he's not with the PBC. You know, I don't think it would be hard to make that fight. I don't think it would be as hard to make as it was to make a Fury or a Joshua fight. But I don't know. I don't think Wilder would take it. But I think it would be the better fight for him, the better opportunity for him. Because if he's confident that he can beat Usyk, or if they're confident that he can beat Usyk, they're going to go towards Usyk over Ruiz because he has more to offer as far as it's a better win. It's a great win to have on your resume. By far the best win to have on Wilder's resume if he were to win that fight. And he would leave that fight not undisputed. He would unified, you know? And plus, he'll still be the number 1 with the WBC on top of that. So as far as negotiations for the next big fight, like if he were to, he's talked about having a 4th fight with Fury. Majority of us don't want to see it, but if he's going if Fury ends up beating Joshua and he has 3 belts that he's going in that fight with, it definitely helps his case with going into that 4th Fury fight. There's more on the line. They'll be undisputed at that point. Then again, just remember, if Usyk doesn't fight Fury in his next fight, there's a good chance some of those titles, one if not two of those titles, are going to be stripped. Because you got guys like Joe Joyce and Joseph Parker who they're fighting a title eliminator, I believe. All right. Now, I don't know about the other titles, but if Usyk is not fighting for undisputed in his very next fight, most likely he gets some of those, at least one of those titles stripped. Most likely. You know. So anyway, you know, that's just my views on it all. I would love for undisputed again. I would love for undisputed right now. You know, got two guys that holds the belts. It's not the same two guys from before. Before it was Wilder and Joshua. Now that's Fury and Usyk. I would love those two to fight. Unfortunately, Fury wants a fight before he wants a fight in December. And Usyk wants to wait until next year. So Fury is going to have another fight. And Fury, you know, if he beats Joshua or whoever his next opponent is, hopefully we'll get the fight right after. You know, I don't think the Usyk Wilder is a real thing. You know, I think it's clever. I think for him to put it out there, but I don't think so. I don't think it's going to happen. You know, it would be cool, but I honestly want to see undisputed first. You know, and then if Fury ends up losing to AJ, then they're going to be in a rematch clause and they're going to fight again. And then what is Usyk going to do? At that point, he's going to have to fight somebody else. This is crazy. It is really crazy. It is really crazy. It is really crazy. I think the only way that we really get undisputed, the only two options is if Usyk continues to sit out and wait for Fury to beat AJ, or if Fury just doesn't even fight in December and he waits, which is not going to happen. But it's starting to look like we might not get undisputed. It's a good chance we might not get it, especially if Fury loses to AJ, if they are to fight. It's tough to call. Eddie Morales says, did I hear about Canelo being in Creed 3? Yes, I did see that posted. I seen him giving Michael B. Jordan a hug. I guess they were on set or something like that. That's cool. I don't know if he's going to be the villain of the movie. I don't know. I think that they were bringing back like the son of Clubber Lang. That's what I heard like a while back. I don't know if that's true. But you know, I guess Canelo being in the movie is cool. Guess to see what his role is going to be. Maybe he's going to be one of the up and coming fighters. So we'll see. You know, I know Andre Ward was in the first two. All right. We had Gabe Rosado also was in the first fight. The Gabe Rosado matchup was a good fight in that movie because it was like a one take fight, the whole fight, which was pretty cool. Xander says the Joshua fight took a toll on Usyk. His body is not capable of sustaining this high level heavyweight fights for much longer, I believe. Hence his injury occurring. Indeed, it was true, and he's stating this. Yeah, I don't believe. I believe that he's stating what's true. You know, I don't think he's just lying to avoid a fight in December. I don't think there's anything wrong with him waiting till next year. Again, it's been a tough year for him, and if he doesn't want to fight, go right into another fight 3 months after a fight with AJ, I think that's fair. You know. Xander also says, unfortunately, boxing is corrupted by TV networks and boxing organizations. Ruiz and Wilder are two examples of submissive fighters. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. You gotta do what you gotta do. You know, the PBC keeps everything in house, and that's that. You know, but yeah, you know, I mean, at the end of the day, it's not just the PBC though. It's not. You know, as much as I think there are other promoters might be more willing to make other fights, but every promoter are going to keep it in house if they have options in house. first. You know, my issue with the promoters or the networks is when the only great other options are outside of the network or outside of the promoter, and the fight doesn't get made. Case in point, Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence. I hate when the fight that everybody wants to see in that division is between two fighters that are not with the same promoter or the same network, and they don't figure out a way to work it out. You know, when you have two of the best fighters in the same division, in the same network, the same promoter, you know, that's one thing. And sometimes we don't even get that. You know, look at 168. 168 was a prime example of both the PBC and Matchroom having two top-tier champions. Saunders, Smith is on the Matchroom end, DAZN, and then you have PBC with Caleb Plant and David Benavidez. The four of them at one point were champions, and they didn't fight each other. And it took Canelo to go up to 168 and beat them all. Didn't fight Benavidez, but Benavidez, you know, was stripped for his title. So I don't believe that it's just one promoter. I think all promoters do the same. But I think when there's an outsider involved that brings in something of value, whether it's championships, maybe it's their name, maybe their cash cow, I don't know. But if there's a fighter on the outside of that promotion, certain promoters are willing to work with other promoters easier, you know? So, all right, guys, listen, I'm out of here, man. I'm going to enjoy the rest of my day. I will be here tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern to cover the fight live. All right. So I may jump on in the morning and do some content. Probably not. Maybe not. I'll probably just wait. But I will be here 7 p.m. Eastern tomorrow to cover the entire card. All right. So be here tomorrow. Again, if you guys, whoever's here, please hit the thumbs up, smash the like button for me. If you are new, subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.